Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. The poet urges the readers to count to 12 and maintain absolute stillness. He calls upon them to observe a brief period of silence. The use of number 12 can be associated to the hours of daylight filled with the noise generated by human activity. It can also mean the number of months in a year. Both things indicate the manner in which our time is drowned in the noise that we create continuously. The poet appeals to observe at least one such moment on earth when no words of any kind are used. He suggests using no other language besides the language of silence, for that would provide an opportunity to introspect. He exhorts the readers to stop for a brief time, just a second, or not to sway arms while expressing their views. This appeal highlights the practice of humans to speak constantly and reinforce their speech by gesticulations. The poet then attempts to present to the reader the worth of a moment of silence. He believes it is to be an exotic moment, devoid of distracting hurry or noise. It would have the strange power to bring together all humanity. That moment of deliberate silence will be free from violence and shall permit time for self introspection. With more time to think about their actions and awareness about their power, men will exhibit their free will and stop harming their surroundings. The poet gives the examples of a fisherman not harming whales and a man collecting salt, stopping a while to examine his own hands and wounds. The poet refers to conflicts over land and air to drive home the point that the outcome of such wars results in losses for all participants. These wars bring a kind of victory which cannot be celebrated since it does not leave behind any survivors. A time zone of silence would make us aware about this bitter reality. When such a conscious effort for introspection will be made, men would shed their bloody war garments and adorn unsoiled clothes. That is, adopt a fresh approach to life. This approach would encourage everyone to move together like brethren under the soft and embalming shade in place of violence and rage of conflict. Then no one will have to struggle in the race of one upmanship because nothing would be required to be done when peace would have been acquired. Clarifying his views about doing nothing, the poet says that his plea for stillness should not be mistaken for passivity or lethargy. He urges to look at life honestly for its simplicity. Life should not be interpreted as something complicated. It is very simple experience of existing in harmony with our surroundings and appreciating the beauty of quietness within and around us. His desire not to have truck with death is an idiom that connotes having nothing to do with the end of life or being an agent of death. He wants to live life peacefully and quietly without bothering about any jerks or impediments. caused by an integral part of human lives, death. The poet explains the benefits of a huge silence by asking the reader to consider the situation when none of us would make deliberate efforts to move our lives further. That moment when all of us would break the self inflicted barriers of time, routine, and habit. That moment of inaction would help us to introspect the sadness that we experience because of our failure to understand ourselves. It would also help us overcome our fear of death, which is an inevitable aspect of existence. The poet finally takes us to nature to understand the simplicity that runs the cycle of life. He asks us to learn from earth, which appears still and lifeless from afar. But as we observe closely, it is full of bustling life. Everything which is born on earth goes through the cycle of growth to serve the purpose for which it is sent to earth by God. It then degenerates and ends in death only to make way for new and young life to follow the same cycle. Having presented his philosophy, the poet leaves the reader alone to sit in silence and personally experience the power of quietness. The central idea of the poet, his call to observe silence and introspect ourselves, resounds at the end, signifying the sincere desire of the poet about keeping quiet. Thank you.